Ciaramicola is a wonderful sweet bread, and it starts with milk. And you can use buttermilk, which I like to use, or you could use sour milk or just regular milk. So 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk is what I'm using. And to that, I want to add 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast. So a tablespoon of yeast goes in. You just want to stir that in. And then add some sugar, a teaspoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. And you stir that around. Let it sit around for about 5 minutes so it'll proof. That's what proofing means. And this is what it looks like. Look at how fluffy that looks. That's all ready to go. That's active dry yeast in our warm milk, about 110 to 115 degrees. And I'm going to put that right into my mixer here, because you can do this by hand, although it's a rather stiff dough, or you can do it in a mixer, and I'm electing to do it in a mixer today. And then you want to have, as I say, some wonderful flavors with this. So I'm going to put in some grated orange zest. You see this in the bread, and it gives it a really nice flavor. So I'm going to just set that aside for a minute. And with it, we want 3 eggs. Now make sure everything is at room temperature. So let me get this going here for you. So you want to put the eggs in. Everything's at room temperature. If your eggs are cold, you can always heat them up in a bowl of water. So 3 eggs. And then you want 1/4 cup of sugar. That goes in. And then 4 tablespoons of softened, unsalted butter go in. Everything's at room temperature. And then something that's really nifty. This, it's called alkedamis. And alkedamis is a liqueur that's made from rose petals. It's made from cinnamon. It's made from cloves. And it is made from ladybugs. Yes, you heard me right. And this gives an absolutely beautiful flavor and a color to this bread. So 1/2 cup of alkedamis goes in. This is also used in things like zuppa inglese. And now I'm going to put in that orange zest. So that goes in, a good tablespoon or so. And now we have to put in our flour. And here we're using unbleached all-purpose flour. And you want to put the flour in a little bit at a time. Don't put it all in. You're going to need about 5 to maybe 6 cups of flour. Maybe you'll use a little less. Everything depends on how you measured. So you put a little bit in at a time, and you let that mix in before you add the next addition. So now I'm going to put just about all of this in, because I think it's going to take it, folks, all that flour. And let's see what happens here. This is going to make 2 loaves of bread. Put a little flour down. Get this out of the way so I have some room. And I don't want to put too much flour down because I don't know how much I'm going to need to add here. Looks almost like taffy, doesn't it? This is going to make 2 wonderful loaves. You can actually make this ahead of time, freeze them. They freeze beautifully without the topping. Take your bench knife and put a little flour on your hands, not too much, and now you start to knead this. And look at how wonderful it just works up. And you don't want too much flour. If it's sticking to the board a little bit, just a little bit at a time. Otherwise, you're going to have a crumb that is just too stiff. And I'm folding the dough over on itself, rotating it clockwise until it no longer sticks to my hands. So, that looks great. Now, we have to put this into, well, you can put it in an oiled bowl. You don't need to oil it, but anyway, put it in a large bowl and then cover it with a piece of plastic wrap right over the top. I measure these out ahead of time so they fit exactly. This is going to keep the heat in, and allow this to rise. Now you want to put that in a warm place. Let it rise for about 2 hours, but not in the oven. And now what we need to do is distribute the gluten and the gases. So we punch this down. Fluffier than before. Isn't that gorgeous? I keep saying that, don't I? But it is. And now we're going to divide this in half. I'm going to work with 1/2 at a time, because we have to roll this into kind of a rope. And I want to start out by just kneading that a little bit under my hands and getting this into, about a 26-incher or so. I'm going to lop off a piece of this now. I take off, about 4 inches right there. Then I'm going to take this and just close it up like that. It's always hard to do that part, so you want to get a little flour on your hands and just fold the dough over on itself, keeping this round shape. Then what you do is have a cookie sheet ready, a bake sheet with a piece of parchment paper on it. See? Keep that ring shaped. And then, what do you do with this other piece of dough? Well, you cut this in half and you roll this out. So you make a cross. And the other one goes over the top, just like that. Beautiful. Now, we let this rise for about, 30-35 minutes. Let me talk to you about the topping, which is egg whites. We're going to make a meringue. So in a perfectly clean bowl, you want 4 or 5 egg whites. And because these are rather small today, I'm going to put an extra one in. And I use this nifty little egg separator that gives me just the white. So in that goes. Get it up to speed here with about 1/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and now we want to whip those up. And how do I know this is cooked? Well, I use an instant read thermometer to go right in there to tell me. And if this registers between 200, 210, I know that that crumb is cooked and it will not leave any loose dough on my thermometer. These you can find in any hardware store. So now this is still warm, and while it's warm, we're going to be putting on this egg white and see where we are. We don't want to over whip them. We want them to be able to hold their shape, and they're just perfect. This is what so intrigues me, is putting the meringue over the top. And now that we have this cloud of meringue all over it, then your oven's still on. Give this a hailstorm of hundreds and thousands, or colored sugars. Looks like Deruta pottery to me. And now, hot, this is ready to go back into the oven at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes, or just until that meringue is nicely browned. So there you have it, an antique bread recipe that I've shared with you from Umbria, Ciaramicola.